they need another weapon on the outside. They do. And there's a couple of guys that could become available, that are going to be available in the offseason. And you know who I'm talking about. Tee Higgins is one of them. Chris Godwin is one of them. Marquise Brown, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs. All these guys. There's a lot of big names available. Do you go in free agency where they have a lot of money? Do you go after a top wide receiver?
Well, I think if you're going to go after a top wide receiver, it's going to have to come at the expense of Courtland Sutton. And that's something that I'm not necessarily sure that the Broncos are really willing to do. If it's Tee Higgins, he's going to get a $30 million deal. Courtland Sutton just got his contract reworked, and I think he's going to be making upwards $22 million. So you've got Chris Godwin going to make $25 million. And while you have Bo Nix on that rookie contract, you're not expending a whole bunch of value there. You're still talking about $32 million on the book for Russell Wilson, and what was absolutely the worst trade. That's not the Deshaun Watson trade that we've ever seen. Like, it turned out horribly for the Broncos, but it doesn't necessarily matter. To me, I think that the way that this Broncos team is built right now, you still have enough room to work. You've got enough young guys on this team that are starting to grow. They're getting these critical reps that are absolutely necessary. And you're seeing the growth of Marvin Mims. You're showing some highlights here. You got Marvin Mims, who in the back half of the season,
you're going to tell me you would rather Marlon Mims over a guy like Tee Higgins? You have
no. Don't get me wrong here, Errol. Don't get me wrong. I would love to get Tee Higgins on this roster. I absolutely would. But also, how do you need to help bolster this roster even more? You need better linebacker play. Plain and simple.
And what are they losing? Williams? They could draft a running back. That's not a problem. And you know Sean Payton knows how to find those guys. There's still a running back over there with the Saints that's one of the best in the business. He can find them in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. You need another wide receiver to help in Courtland Sutton. They didn't have that in the game, and that's why Buffalo Bills really, even though Courtland Sutton had 75 yards, he really didn't do anything in the game that really was explosive. You had a Tee Higgins or Amari Cooper on the other side of the field. That opens up the field for Courtland Sutton.
If you're going to get Tee Higgins on this roster, what do you have to do with the Courtland Sutton contract? There's not a whole lot of guaranteed money there, but you got to have to find some way to upgrade this roster in general. Like, you need better safety play. PJ Locke was an absolute travesty down the stretch. Brandon Jones was quite all right, but Justin Cernod is a replacement level linebacker. Cody Barton, replacement level linebacker. Alex Singleton's going to be coming back. He's the leading tackler for the Broncos the last handful of seasons, but also coming off of a torn ACL. You need linebacker help big time. Yeah, the pass rush is great, but you still have to figure out a way to extend Jonathan Franklin Myers, who, thank you for that. That was the greatest thing the Broncos did this season. You got Zach Allen, who needs a contract extension as well. You got to find another running back, another wide receiver. Like, where does the money go? And to me, if you're going to be expending that out on Tee Higgins, who is a great player, and I would love to have him here, I don't know that you can actually do that and also keep the assets. How do you keep Tee Higgins and Courtland Sutton on the roster at the same time? That's the problem here, Errol.
I think you can. The Broncos, the way Bo Nix played this year, if the Broncos had another wide receiver, a star wide receiver to go play on the other side of Courtland Sutton, with the AFC so open, and the Kansas City Chiefs, they're not a good team. They're obviously won a lot of games this year. A lot of the referees and the referee calls went their way. I think Kansas City is going to start falling off, and Spagnuolo might have a job. So that defense might be completely different next year. I think the Broncos could win that division the way they play with Sean Payton this year. I love what I see, but they need another weapon. They need a star wide receiver on the other side of Courtland Sutton. Go in the draft, bring in the safety help, bring in the linebacker help, and then go all out on one of these star wide. Even if it's not Tee Higgins, go after Amari Cooper. Get somebody there that can play with Courtland Sutton.
Watch the Broncos go out in free agency and bring on a guy like Andre Sisco from the Jaguars or Javon Holland from Miami, maybe even Trevon Merrick. Like, there's some value to have there at the safety class in free agency this year. And then attack this very rich tight end and running back class in the 2025 NFL draft. Like I said, you got Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland, Aranda Gadsden Jr., Gunnar Helm from Texas. Like, there's value to add there. But a guy that I really like for this Broncos team, specifically given the roles that are presented to you with Courtland Sutton, with Marvin Mims, with Devon Bailey, who is a revelation as a 7th round pick, Savion Williams out of TCU. I freaking love this kid for the Denver Broncos working over the middle of the field. He's got run after the catch ability. He's a big body type, running back with the football in his hands. Like that's a guy in the second, maybe early third round the Broncos could target there. They need more explosiveness on this offense. And I think they're going to find that in the draft. They're going to go after defensive talent in free agency.
That's why they lost against Buffalo. Buffalo what Buffalo did is made them one-dimensional. In the second half, you saw it. They turned the Broncos a one-dimensional team. You have a 7-point lead, and then all of a sudden, the mistakes that you made, and they made a couple of big mistakes defensively, and everything started to tumble, and if they fell flat on their face all the way going into the third quarter. And I think Sean Payton's going to come out, and he's going to make sure that he finds other weapons, especially Alvin Kamara could become available this offseason, because I could see the Saints deciding to part ways with him. Maybe he gets traded over there to the Broncos. You won't have to give up much for a guy like Alvin Kamara, who's like 30 years old now. So I think it'd make more sense to go after one of these guys that actually know the offense, and maybe Sean Payton bringing an electrifying guy to help out Courtland Sutton, because one guy's not going to win a championship.
I'm going to ask you one question here. When it comes to the Broncos and Bills game, what was the one thing that actually dominated the game?
The Buffalo defense.
It was the Buffalo running game. Denver allowed 210 yards rushing on the ground. They could not stop. They could not tackle at the second level. James Cook bounced off ball carriers the entire game. He dragged Cody Barton 4 yards, and he dragged Cody Barton 4 yards for a touchdown in the first quarter, and then all in the second half.
Allen's improvisation when he was running was good too at certain points.
Yeah, like you've got to shore up this defense as much as you possibly can, because there's a lot of players that are going to be leaving this team. Like Cody Barton's a free agent. Alex Singleton's coming back off a torn ACL. Like you still got to figure out a way to shore up your linebacker depth for sure.